It's a new
Great.
month. One of my favorite topics. I'm ready.
Yeah, new month.
hmm You'll be excited to know that we have scheduled a trip to Havasupai. And I'm so excited to record because we're backpacking in. So
Oh,
it'll be my
rad.
first Switch adventure.
Yay! Kyle recently went there. If you have any questions,
All right, I will
yeah,
we're
that's so
debating
exciting.
rules and helicopters right now.
Where is
Yep.
this? I thought you said Havasu, like Arizona.
It's the Havasupai. It's where the amazing waterfalls are near there that are on the Native American reservation.
Oh, how
Yeah.
cool.
Yes. And Britt, good morning. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm okay. Another day. It's like a blizzard right now.
That's
I
so
feel
exciting.
it.
Oh, wow. Where are you, Britt?
I'm in New York City.
Oh, wow.
I
Oh, my God.
It's
literally
all gray here. So it's making me imagine that there's actually snow happening outside because when it's this gray, it should be snowing. It's like depressing when it's just gray.
It is so cold. Like my apartment's like an igloo. I have a skylight and usually the snow doesn't stick on it and I'm completely snowed in. Like my apartment's dark.
Oh,
Crazy.
Well, that makes me excited. It may not be making you as
I'm glad it's making you guys excited. It's cozy and cute, but it's also just like another reminder that like we're just in our apartments, like but
yeah. When it starts to feel caving in even more than I already was.
leave my apartment like once a week. So this is like, all right, I'm not leaving for a few days again. Like
Yeah.
But whatever. It's fine. Commuting in the snow sucks.
It does.
So positives.
Yes. There's a whole people don't realize it was funny working for footwear brands on the West Coast when we would talk about like winter gear you would actually need to function.
Yeah.
And a lot of steps missing because a lot of people had never had to walk everywhere in blizzard. And like it completely changes what you're thinking about. Like, no, this boot cannot lace up because I have to like pull it on and off 100 times.
Yeah. And pockets.
Yes.
And like the bottom of a shoe. It's
Yes. How many, like the number of times I have like eaten shit in snow. Like
I know I have to take my trash out and I live on a 5-floor walk up and my trash is all the way down another set of stairs downstairs and I have to wait for it to stop snowing because I'm like, that is how people break their leg.
Yes. Well, with all to me, snow is romantic, which fits perfectly into our month of February. This whole month, we're talking about how we can be in our business love language as much as possible. And some of you might remember who did the clarity exercise, like what your business love language is. So I'll kind of give a quick summary today. But essentially, your business love language is when everything that you do when you are not working, you actually get paid to do. So if your favorite thing to do is to rearrange your closet, why don't you figure out a way to get paid to rearrange other people's closets? If your love language is, helping people put together strategies, how do you get paid to help other people put together strategies? And it just goes on forever, right? If you love feeding people, if you love making people laugh, like the thing that lights you up that you go out of your way to do for yourself and other people, even when it seems like silly to do it, how do we make sure that that's built into your business, either the existing business you have or a business that you want to create or a way to expand the business you have so you can be in that space more? This is that, like what people call your zone of genius. It could be aligned with your purpose. Like all these things come together, in my opinion, when I'm talking about what is your business love language. So we're going to be looking into how we can identify that and how we can actually make that part of our job, especially if we don't feel like it is all the time. So that's going to be where we're focusing. But I would love to hear from you guys today. When I say business love language, like what does it mean to you? What's coming up for you? And do you know, sorry, quick question before we start. Have you heard of like the 5 love languages? Okay.
I'll start, I guess, because this is something that they just added on Bumble.
Oh, did they?
And it's very interesting because I feel like it's a very like feminine
Mhm.
thing, even though technically it isn't. But when you were saying love language, I obviously think of like dating. But for me, words of affirmation are like I need someone to pick up the phone and check in on me instead of like a text message, or when my roommate comes home from work or whatever, walking in the door and acknowledging me that I'm there, and like having that like verbal like how are you. So a light bulb kind of went off because I've never thought about it for work before, but I don't know how I would translate words of affirmation, because I know you're saying you want to get paid for doing the things that you love, which I'm all about, considering I do a job that is like something I live and breathe. But I don't know how I would translate something that I know that I need into my work. So
Anyone
Should we
have?
be looking at like the giving or the receiving? It'd be because there's like, for me, my love language, receiving is words of affirmation, but I like to give acts of service. So it should be,
It can be either. So what you're like, so I think this will answer your question, Kendra. So Britt, when you were saying like, how do I do that? The first light bulb that went off in my head is, how do you make sure all of your clients are getting words of affirmation? And I think you already do this when you work with the client, because you're always making them like feel and look awesome. So
yeah.
like from my experience working with you, like you're already telling, you made me feel so great. So I think you might already be doing it, but how do you be more intentional with it? How do you use that, what you crave from like, to make sure other people have it just as part of how you do business and your customer service foundation? And then secondly, like, I'm pretty sure if we Googled it, there's a business that where like people call you and say nice things to you. I'm sure there's one. And if there isn't one, like I want one so I can get subscribed and like get a phone call about it. So there's always like, you know, the question of like, how do we just do that? Right. And that's often where a new business comes from. But so for Kendra, for yours, like if looking at both your receiving and your giving of your love language, how can you have both be part of what you're creating? And is it showing up in your business now?
oh, are you asking me? I have no idea.
I'm also feeling a little stumped. That's why I'm just listening.
Well, I think actually thinking about it, like if mine's acts of service, like I feel like I'm always like doing a lot of things for a lot of people just because I love that. And so I guess like if we're planning their bachelorette and we're like taking all this off their plate, then we are helping them in that way. So it would be an acts of service.
Yeah. And again, it's like, how do we make it more intentional? Because so often what happens is our love languages, we do and don't give ourselves credit for doing them. Right? Like there's a reason, Kendra, that you are always the person people call to organize the event. Right? Because you just do it. You probably will like move people out of the way and be like, just give it to me. Like, I can't let you do it. Right? Yeah. You're not in affirmation.
Happened yesterday.
Yeah. So that tells me it's like, what, if that's what you're doing anyway, how can you either make that more visible to your clients? How can you offer that type of packaging to your clients? How can you let people know that that's happening? Because even your friends who have been part of the bachelorettes or girls weekends that you've organized, they probably have some great testimonials or insight into how you could roll it into your business. Because you're already doing, you're doing part of it, but I'm willing to bet that you're not doing all of it. So what would happen if you did all of it?
I'm just thinking about like we're expanding right now to be all events and all parties. So like, you know, life's too short for a boring party. So if we took like, we're not going to offer them every single little thing they need for their party because that would just be too much for us as a business. But if we could say, okay, here's your rodeo bachelor or your rodeo birthday, whatever, and we have these 6 products, read our blog post about how to plan the rest of the party.
Mhm.
And that blog post could give them all the tools they need. And like, I'm happy for them to go to Amazon and buy like, you know, a backdrop or whatever they need. But
Yeah.
yeah, if we give them like the resources that way,
Yeah.
so that we're kind of a one-stop shop in that get what you need here, order this, and then you're done.
Yeah.
Or like we've been talking about freebies too. So like with that theme, people do like these little things, like they give them like a little hair tie around like a piece of paper and it says like Charlie's Last Rodeo. And for me, and like that's so easy for me to design, but I don't want to be the one making it. And so we wrote a blog post on how to make this DIY, because if you go buy it on Etsy, it's like, you know, you spend $60. So
Mhm.
here's your free downloadable printable, and then order this Amazon link, and then we've just saved you $50.
Yeah.
And you better buy our cowboy hats.
Yeah. And you should actually set up your Amazon links as an Amazon affiliate link, so you're making money on those links too.
Oh, I need
You're
to do
welcome.
that.
Yeah. But so do you guys, as Britt's talking and as Kendra's talking, are you starting to see how the love language starts to expand? Right? So if you think about dazzling people, it's a way for you to really see how your love language can like keep going, right? And I think Britt, having talked to you one-on-one as well, right? Like you keep adding things into what you want to do for people because you realize that you haven't finished like loving on them. Does that make sense? Because you're like, okay, you've done your like big event. Now we should really do your closet. And what about energy styling? And oh, hold on. Because
Yeah.
in reality, all these things are included in how you look at the area of life. And there's a missing if you don't complete it for somebody, is another clue to look at it. So like,
Yeah.
so same with Kendra's parties, right? If you give them just a thing, and this is a great example for a visual. If you gave them all the gear and then they showed up and like didn't know how to set it up, like you would be so frustrated, Kendra. You'd be like, oh my gosh, like, no, we have to style this. This isn't good enough, right? So every time that you would get into one of those spaces, we were like, no, like, hold on, it's not done. That's an opportunity to either add a service or to share something like you are through the blog post. Yes. All right. So Isabel, you were saying you're feeling stuck.
Yeah, I'm just having a hard time figuring out what my business love language is.
Well, what's your regular love language? Do you know?
What are the names again?
It's like words of affirmation, acts of service. I think physical touch is one.
Quality time.
Quality time, and
Oh,
then
right.
gifts.
I think mine are words of affirmation, but mostly physical touch. So that's why I'm like, how do I do that with my customers?
Yeah.
But I guess a big part of Switch is words of affirmation, like just the valid, like our main deal is validating women's needs
Mm-hmm.
and talking about them to
Yeah.
take the shame away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be, usually our love language stuff is like right in front of us, but it's so common to us that we don't see it.
Right.
And then when we switched from like the traditional love language elements from that book to like what a business love language can be, it's where you start putting all the pieces together. So if you love words of affirmations and you love spreadsheets and you love, I don't know, chocolate, like how can you start putting all these things together so you literally have fun every single day? Right? Or it's just what you do, right? When we went through the unicorn exercise in Clarity Kit, it's like, what do people come to you for? What are people asking you for? So if people come to you for things already, how do you turn that into something you can get paid for?
I have a question because I just kind of had an aha moment.
Yeah.
I am a gift giver, and I'm realizing that like what I struggle with is that I get a lot of free things for my clients, and I also do it for new clients so I can show them like, you know, the cool things that they can get from working with me.
Mhm.
but then I struggle with this because I'm not getting paid and it's my time and energy. So yeah, that's like a big struggle for me, is how I can balance that, because I really like to do it. But then, for example, I had a client who I was getting all this free gifting for. She was a new client and she was paying me well. And then she had a big red carpet event and hired another really big stylist. And I was like, the heck am I doing all of this free stuff for? If you're gonna, for the big events, you're gonna hire someone else. And that is something that I struggle with, is like being able to do that without feeling like betrayed in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone have any ideas before I give mine? Mhm.
I spent the weekend learning about rewards programs, which was really interesting. Once these things that I learned about. But Kara, you've been telling me to get this rewardssmile.io for like maybe 2 years, and I finally did it. But that was a different way that we were looking at like how to reward our loyal customers.
Mhm.
So Britt, when you said that, I was like, okay, well, how do you make her loyal without weirdly locking her into a contract or something? And so I don't know how that would work with like styling, but maybe like if they purchase certain styling, they get free things. So, like me as an e-com, I'm like, okay, the different levels, you know, can you get free shipping? It's like, you're my highest paying customer. Like, yeah, it's going to cost me money, but this person's spending, you know, $600-700 a year with me. So that's, it could be like a different way to make sure that the gifts that you're giving equate to a
Yeah.
return.
That's a good way to put it. I think for me, it would just have to be like a note that I keep on my end. Like, I don't know if I would necessarily, the gift giving is really only for like the clients that I know that like a brand will give free things for, but I can't like, it's not my place to do it. I just like reach out and facilitate it, if that makes sense. But I should just keep a number on like a spreadsheet that they need to reach like X amount before I like, because I get PR people emailing me all the time being like, oh, we'd love to send X, Y, and Z a new jacket from North Face. And then can you help facilitate that? And then I'm like, yeah, but then I think I should just maybe push back and say, you know, they're not hiring me for services right now. So yeah, maybe that's like
But if
what
you
I,
did something that didn't cost any money, so like obviously your time is money, but like you could give them, like, I feel like people like this like want you by their side certain times. Like if there's certain things you could give them that aren't something that takes a lot of time to coordinate, or like that sounds like that transaction would be like a long thing. So you could give them like, if you book with me certain amount of times, you'll get like an extra hour on the red carpet, or like a get ready thing, or I don't know what is
yeah,
valuable to them, but like certain things that like
I have
to
to
be
think about it,
purchased
because it's
that are like
like,
invaluable.
for that part of my business, it's like a budget. This is like what I've struggled with Kara before. It's like, with that part of my business, that budget comes from like a studio, and it's not their own money, and they don't control, like, sometimes my rates are different per thing because it's what the studio has budget for. So I'm like, I just have to really, I have to reflect. I think I don't have an answer like right this second, but I think I need to do a little reflecting.
The one thing I'd have you take into your reflection is, how do you get paid for everything you provide for that customer?
Yeah.
So how do you not even pick up a pen until someone's paying you? It's hard, because especially if it's our love language, we're like, oh, we'll just do it. And you're like, that's where we have to put up the barrier. So whether there's a finder's fee, or there's, you know, you have to be an active client for me to do these things for you. Like, think about how many spreadsheets I have, or how many worksheets I have. If someone called me and said, can I have this worksheet? Can I do it? Of course I can. It'll literally take me 5 seconds to email it to somebody, but I can't do that, because then I'm not honoring all the other people who are paying for something. I'm not honoring the hard work I've done. I'm not honoring how long it's taken me to be able to build that worksheet. So there's all these elements of, and we'll get into this more on Thursday as well, about the things that we don't think we should charge for, especially if they're in our love language space, are actually the things that we should be charging for, because
Yeah.
it allows us to like love ourselves by like making sure that that is a something that has a fee.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's really helpful. Thank you, Kendra, too.
So Mikkel and Miranda, I see you guys nodding. What's going on in your worlds? What are you thinking about this love language stuff?
I think that my love language is the affirmations,
Mhm.
physical acts, and then can you repeat the
Yeah, it's physical touch, gifts, words of affirmation, acts of service, and what's the last
acts
one?
of service? I think is the other one.
Quality time.
Thank you.
There was a time when I was teaching live classes, and my whole thing was like I would high five people constantly. And it was kind of like my way of making people, I mean, I don't know what it is about a high five, but it just makes people feel better. Like
Yeah.
it just, it like energizes you.
Mhm.
And now, and especially tomorrow, because I'm starting my virtual online office hours. But I think now the main thing is I guess I guess it would all be balled up into an act of service, because I don't necessarily have to, appear and give out free information.
Mhm.
And then like even with my FIT classes, like I'm constantly, this guy sent me his portfolio and I asked one of my former colleagues to review it, like things like that. Like I just feel like, especially for students, just going that little extra mile, it makes me feel good. And then it's something that I know that a lot of the other teachers aren't doing, but also gives them a little extra incentive and information for how they can improve. And I mean, I never want anybody to come to me later on and be like, I was sitting for 3 hours trying to figure this out. And I'm like, yeah, it was the direct selection tool, when it's just like one little thing. So I think that's probably really my love language for my business is acts of service. And then now I'm also very big on mentoring.
Mhm.
So yeah,
I
that's
love
my love language.
I like it. Miranda and her magical balloons. Thoughts on love languages?
Hi. I'm thinking about that. I think probably for the business would have to be quality time and acts of service.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, because probably more about quality time, I think.
Yeah.
I want what I'm putting out there to enhance their quality of life, and like have fun, be happy,
Mhm.
be with people that are important to you and celebrate.
Mhm. Well, and that's I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because you start to see how the 5 common love languages from that book, there's actually all these sub segments of what that means, right? And I know that we landed during the last Clarity month where you were like, oh, like I want people laughing together, right? So like it's even a really clear, specific, deeper level of quality time. And like so you already kind of have like, if that's your zone, what are we making for that zone? And how do you get to not just give it to people, but experience it yourself, right? Because part of and this is kind of what Britt mentioned, right? Like she loves gifting, and there's so many ways in your business that you get to do that for people, even if they're not free gifts, right? There's so many things that you can gift to people in your business. But how do you make sure that you're getting the acknowledgement and either the words of affirmation, the thank yous back and the appreciation, or like getting the actual that gift back? So like I love giving acts of service, but I also like getting acts of service, because that's like what teams do, right? That's what, you know, building things together looks like, doing it kind of back and forth together. So how do you set yourself up where you're getting as much as you're giving is going to be the next part of it. Because if we're just always giving, then we're going to be like an empty hollow and then frustrated and overworked and ready to give up. And you guys will come screaming back saying like, you said I could work in my love language, and you're not feeling happy about it. So this Thursday is our workshop for the month. Again, it's open to other people who want to join. They can just buy a ticket. So if there's people in your life who would benefit from figuring out what their business love language is and would want to come, please invite them. This is a really fun topic. And it's also a great way to like love on other people in our lives. So we'll be going deeper into how you find yours, what the common business love languages are, and how when you know what your business love language is, it will give you access to making more money than you've ever made, easier and with more fun. Like that's why we're talking about this topic, because it's leading directly into our goal of doubling our business this year. And this also spills over into the time management element and delegating and deleting. Like there's so many things like layered into this topic. So Thursday is going to be a fun workshop. And then of course, we'll keep diving into it all month long. Any questions? You guys are plotting about this and thinking about it for yourselves this week? No? Okay. Well, you guys are awesome. Thank you for being here on this chilly, gray, sometimes blizzarding, depending on where you are in the world, Monday morning. But have an amazing week, and I will see you guys on Thursday.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Karen.
Feel free to wear red and pink if you want to, just to be, you know, seasonal on Thursday. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.